It was a Sunday afternoon in a quiet New England town, the kind of day where nothing bad is supposed to happen. Warm sun, familiar roads, and a young woman who just wanted to get some air before heading back to the city. Vanessa Marcotte never made it home, and what investigators discovered in the woods less than a mile from her mother's front door would launch one of the most determined forensic manhunts in Massachusetts history. Stories like Vanessa deserve more than a headline. They deserve to be remembered, fully, truthfully, and with the respect she earned in her 27 years of her life. If you believe that these voices matter and that justice is worth fighting for, subscribe to this channel and hit the bell. Every single view keeps this story alive. Now let's get Vanessa the attention she deserves. To understand what was lost on August the 7th, 2016, you need to first understand who Vanessa was, because she was far more than a name on a case file. Vanessa Teresa Marcotte was born on June 17, 1989, in Leominster, Massachusetts. From the very beginning, she was the kind of person who made people around her feel like they mattered. Bright, driven, and deeply warm. She was an only child and the center of her mother Rosanna's world. She was the student who didn't just get good grades. She graduated from Boston University in 2011, earning her degree in communications with a kind of academic distinction that reflected years of quiet, determined work. After graduation, she jumped first head into the world of digital marketing, joining a Boston-based startup called WorldStream, where her talent for connecting ideas with people became immediately obvious. But Vanessa had big ambitions. She earned a position as an account manager at Google New York office, one of the most competitive workplaces on the planet. Her colleagues later described her as exactly the kind of person you'd wanted on your team, sharp, warm, and genuinely passionate about the work. New York was her city now, but Massachusetts was still her home. About once every 2 months, Vanessa made the trip back to the small rural town of Princeton, population roughly 4,000, to visit her mother Rosanna and her aunt. For an only child with a close family, these visits meant everything. Rosanna lived for them. Vanessa was also the kind of person who took care of her body and her mind. She was active, regularly taking walks, practicing yoga and going for runs. Physical movement wasn't just exercise for her. It was how she reset, how she thought, how she prepared for what was next. On the morning of August 7th, 2016, Vanessa was doing exactly that, visiting her mother at the family home on Brook Station Road. It was a warm, sunny Sunday. Later that afternoon, she was scheduled to catch the commuter bus back to New York. She had things to return to, a life that was just getting started, but first, a run. At approximately 1 p.m., Vanessa laced up her sneakers, put in her headphones, and headed out the front door. The route she was taking was familiar. These were roads she knew, tree-lined, quiet, the kind of roads that felt safe because you've walked them about 100 times. Hours passed. Rosanna Marcotte waited. 1 hour, then 2, then more. This wasn't like Vanessa. Her daughter was reliable, punctual. She had a bus to catch. The silence stretched into something wrong. The Pacific, stomach-dropping wrongness that only a parent can feel when a child simply doesn't come back. Rosanna contacted the police. Officers responded quickly and began canvassing the area around Vanessa's likely running route. As the summer evening settled over Princeton, the search intensified. Neighbors, woods, roads, the kind of small town where everyone knows the sound of every car, and yet somehow something terrible has happened in plain daylight. At 8:20 p.m., a police dog picked up a scent. The trail led into an area of dense vegetation, heavy bushes, deep trees, the kind of place that swallows light even in August. The search team pushed through roughly 60 yards of the road less than a mile from Rosanna's front door. That's where they found her. Vanessa Marcotte, 27 years old, gone. The preliminary examination left no ambiguity. This was not an accident. This was not a medical emergency. Detectives were looking at a crime, a violent, deliberate, devastating crime committed against a young woman who had simply gone for a run. What investigators found at the scene was both chilling and ultimately critical. Vanessa's cell phone and headphones were missing, taken Detectives believed because the perpetrator knew they might carry his DNA. A sneaker laid on the grass nearby with burn marks on it. Traces of fire were found at multiple points around the scene. Their working the theory was quite immediate and grim. Someone had attempted to use fire, likely accelerated with gasoline, to destroy biological evidence. But they hadn't counted on Vanessa. She fought back. The medical examiner confirmed the cause of death as strangulation, but during that struggle, Vanessa had scratched her attacker, and beneath her fingernails, forensic investigators found what they needed most: DNA from an unknown male. It was a lifeline, a biological signature left behind by a killer who thought he'd covered his tracks. The DNA samples were processed and run through local databases, then state, then the national system. No match. Whoever had attacked Vanessa had no prior criminal record in the system. The DNA existed, but it had no name attached to it. For the small, tight-knit community of Princeton, the shock was profound. This kind of violence hadn't touched this town in over 30 years. Neighbors who had never locked their doors were suddenly checking their locks twice. Women who had jogged these roads for years felt the landscape shifted beneath them. The case carried an additional haunting dimension. Just days before Vanessa's death, another young woman, Karina Vitrano, a 30-year-old fitness blogger and runner, had been killed under eerie similar circumstances in New York City neighborhood. Two runners, two attacks, days apart. The parallel was impossible to ignore and the terrifying to contemplate. Worcester District Attorney Joseph Early Jr. confirmed at a press conference on August the 11th that the attacker was almost certainly male and that the struggle with Vanessa had likely left him with minor cuts, scratches and bruises. He had marks on him, physical evidence of a fight he hadn't expected. Investigators asked the public for help. Tips poured in. Hundreds of DNA samples were voluntarily collected from men in the area. The case attracted national media coverage and still no arrests. The DNA existed. The killer was out there, and for months, then over a year, the case remained open. Then came the breakthrough that changed everything. In November of 2017, more than a year after Vanessa's murder, Massachusetts State Police announced the arrest of Angelo Colin Ortiz, a 30-year-old man from Worcester, Massachusetts. The key was a technology that had barely existed in mainstream law enforcement used just years earlier: investigative genealogy, combined with advanced DNA analysis. Investigators had developed a more detailed DNA profile from the evidence recovered beneath Vanessa's fingernails. Through painstaking research, tracing family trees, cross-referencing relatives, working backwards through bloodlines, they were able to narrow their focus to Colin Ortiz. When investigators obtained a DNA sample from him, it matched. Angelo Colin Ortiz was charged with first-degree murder, aggravated rape, and kidnapping. In October of 2019, he was convicted on all accounts and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. For Vanessa Marcotte, who had spent over 3 years carrying the weight of that August afternoon, the verdict was not the end of grief. It never is. But it was the arrival of something she had refused to stop fighting for, the truth confirmed. Her daughter's suffering acknowledged, her killer held accountable. Vanessa had fought back, and in doing so, she had given investigators everything they needed to find him. Vanessa was 27 years old. She was a Google executive, a devoted daughter. She was someone's entire world. Her case became a turning point in how Massachusetts and the broader law enforcement communities approach forensic DNA investigations, proving that even when databases come up empty, the science can still find its way to the truth. In her memory, Vanessa's family and colleagues established a foundation in her name to support scholarships and initiatives for young women pursuing careers in business and technology. The Vanessa Marcotte Foundation ensures that her ambitions and warmth continue to shape the world she left too soon. She went for a run on a Sunday afternoon in a town she loved, and she fought back. Thank you for taking the time to learn about Vanessa, a real person, a real life and a case that reminds us how much forensic science and sheer determination matters in the pursuit of justice. We want to hear from you. What do you think should change to make public spaces safer for everyone, especially runners and women walking alone? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story moved you, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to this channel. We cover stories that deserve more than a passing headline. See you in the next one.